Today po, i-discuss po namin ngayon yung Chapter 2, the Tourism Public Sector. Kasama ko po sila Justin Soriano, Angelica Villarosa, tsaka Patricia Del Rosario. Learning objectives po dito is to identify the various government agencies involved in the development and promotion of the tourism industry as well as their function. We should also describe the relationship of these agencies with one another and explain the possibility of public service as a career in the industry. According po sa American novelist na si Mark Twain, role of government daw po can be defined as the loyalty to the nation all the time when it deserves. The case of overpriced airport, yung case po na to is yung paggawa po nung NAIA Terminal 3 na lumabas po sa investigation poorly constructed daw po. Tapos naging issue rin po yung nagastos doon kasi po yung nagastos po sa NAIA Terminal 3 sumobra po siya ng $140 million. Yan po. It was during the year 1973 when the Philippines government realized that there is a need to realign government efforts toward trade promotion and tourism development for greater effectiveness. The need for the government's immediate and priority attention, this gave rise to Presidential Decree number 189 noong May 11, 1973, creating the Department of Tourism, which was enacted to make the tourism industry a positive instrument toward accelerated national development, through which more people from other countries may visit and better appreciate the country, and through which the Filipinos themselves may learn more about the natural beauty, history, and culture of the Philippines, and develop greater pride in the commitment to the nation. Yung paggagawa po nung Department of Tourism, ang purpose po talaga nito is to give more pagkakakilanlan sa Pilipinas. Papakita po sa ibang nation kung ano po yung kultura natin. At the same time po, nabibigyan po nila ng mga trabaho yung iba nating mga kababayan. Department of Tourism or DOT was created by virtue of Presidential Decree 189. It is a primary policy making, planning, programming, coordinating, and administrative entity of the executive branch of the government in the development of the tourism industry, both domestic and international. So, ang function daw po nung Department of Tourism is to supervise all activities of the government which concern tourism. Pangalawa po, affects the removal of unnecessary barriers to travel, the integration and simplification of travel regulations, as well as their efficient, fair, and courteous enforcement to assure expeditious and hospitable reception of all visitors. Nagpo-formulate din po sila ng integrated program of promotion and publicity designated to attract and induce people abroad to visit the Philippines, patronize things which are Philippines made, and to enhance the prestige of the Filipino people in their public. Nagre-review rin po sila ng tourism projects which involve loans from government before said institution may take actions on them and approve all tourism projects and firms applying for tax incentives under the Export Incentives Act, as amended by Presidential Decree number 92 before the Board of Investments may take actions on them. It also represents the government in all conference and meeting concerning tourism and travel and discharge such as responsibilities of the government as may arise from treaties, agreements, and other commitments on tourism and travel, to which it is a signatory. It also accredits travel agents, tour operators, and tour guides. classifies and accredits hotel, resorts, inn, motels, hotels, restaurants, and other related facilities and services which cater to foreign and domestic tourists, and in addition, formulates suitable standard to ensure that the highest possible standards are met, reasonable fees and charges are made, and that services are given with honesty, courtesy, and efficiency, and also perform such as function as may be provided by law. The power to regulate, license, and supervise tour operators and accommodation facilities has now been developed to the local government. It must be noted that the power to regulate does not include the power to prohibit operation of these establishments without due process of law. The word regulate, as used in subsection 1, section 2444 of the Administrative Code, means and includes the power of control, to govern and to restrain, but regulate should not be constructed as synonymous with suppress or prohibit. Sa case po na to, Malate Tourist Development Corporating or MTDC, a corporation engaged in the business of operating hotels, motels, hostels, and lodging houses, built and opened Victoria Court, Malate, which was licensed as a motel although duly accredited with the DOT as a hotel. The ordinance should be declared unconstitutional and invalid. The power to regulate means the power to control, to govern, and to restrain places of exhibition and amusement. But the power to regulate should not be constructed as synonymous with the power to suppress or power to prohibit. Sa legal opinion po na to, pinakita po yung tungkol po dun sa case ng pag-open po ng Victoria Court sa Malate. Pinapaliwanag po dito na dapat po magkaiba yung power to regulate at power to prohibit. Ang binigay lang po na kapangyarihan sa MTDC ay yung power to regulate. Yun lang po. Virtue of the enactment of the Tourism Act of 2009, certain tourism public sectors have been reorganized and renamed. The DOT under this law is reorganized and given considerable sources of funding to achieve its designated mandated and functions, which includes increasing tourist access, certain areas that are to be designated as tourism enterprise zones, and incentives are given to covered tourism enterprises. The Philippine Tourism Authority or PTA is hereby organized as the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority. The Philippine Conventions and Visitors Corporation is hereby reorganized as a Tourism Promotions Board. The Bureau for Domestic and International Tourism Promotions and the Office of Tourism Information of the Department are hereby absorbed into the Tourism Promotions Board. The Philippine Tourism Authority, PTA, is hereby organized as Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority. Sa may last mga pages po na to, pinakita lang po dito na sa pagdating ng mga panahon, nung mga pag-aaral din po, nagkaroon po ng mga pagbabago sa ginawa nung mga presidential decree. Nung una po is Department of Tourism lang. Ngayon po nagkaroon na po ng mga PCBC, TPB, mga TIESA po, mga ganyan na. Yun lang naman din po, pero mas pinagsama-sama po nila para po mas ma-handle ng maayos. TIESA remains to be the principal agency responsible for the timely, effective, and efficient collection of travel taxes. The amounts collected by the TIESA shall be distributed as follows. 50% po na pupunta sa kanila, sa agency po na yon or sa department po. 40% sa CHED po, Higher Education Development Fund. 10% naman yung sa NCAA. The TPB shall formulate and implement an integrated domestic and international promotions and marketing program for the DOT. The TPB shall be responsible for marketing and promoting the Philippines domestically and internationally as a major global tourism destination, highlighting the uniqueness and assisting the development of its tourism products and services, with the end in view of increasing tourist arrivals and tourism investment. It shall also ensure the regular advertisement abroad of the country's major tourism destinations and other tourism products not limited to TEZs. It may also provide incentives to travel agencies abroad which are able to draw tourists and tourism investment to the country. Dito po sa any geographic area where a TEZ may be established shall conform with the following general criteria to ensure that they will not proliferate in a manner that diminishes their strategic, economic, and developmental value to the national economy. Ito po yung mga requirements sa isang para pong tourist spot or destination para po ma-confirm ng TEZ na isa siyang tourist spot. The area is capable of being defined into one contiguous territory. Number 2, it has historical and cultural significance, environmental beauty, or existing or potential integrated leisure facilities within its bound or reasonable distances from it. It may have strategic access through transportation infrastructure and reasonable connection within utilities infrastructure systems. It is sufficient in size that it may be further utilized for bringing in new investment in tourism establishment and services. It is in a strategic location such as to catalyze the socio-economic development of neighboring communities. Yung mga sinabi pong criteria na to, ginawa po to para po mas ma-improve yung tourism dun sa lugar na yun. Kasi po pagka po nag-declare ng isang tourist spot, ala naman pong proper na transportation papunta doon. Hindi po siya pwede talaga na pangmaramihan na tao. Hindi po sa di na po ito magtatagal at masisira lang din agad. Di na po natin mapapainabangan tayong mga Pilipino, di rin po mararanasan ng mga taga-ibang bansa kung ano yung meron yung Pilipinas. Application of the law, yung case po dito is Fairmont Hotel Makati opened its doors to the public in December 2012. The deluxe property, the latest addition to the international hotel chain, boasts of 280 elegantly appointed guest rooms. The hotel is part of Ayala Land Hotels and Resorts, which has recently developed the Anvaya Cove, acquired El Nido Resorts, and opened Seda Hotels. It is possible to open the said property and not be accredited by the DOT. Can it be applied as a tourism enterprise zone? Legal opinion po dito is under the new law, the Tourism Act of 2009, all primary tourism establishment must be mandatorily be accredited by the DOT before they could operate and offer products and services to the public. The Business Development Manager of Fairmont Hotel Makati should apply for the said accreditation 6 months prior to its target opening to allow sufficient time for documentation process and inspection visits by DOT officials. Moreover, Fairmont Hotel Makati may not qualify as a tourism enterprise zone because it does not meet the minimum requirements set by the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority or TIEZA. Dito po pinaliwanag po ulit yung kailangan po may mamit na criteria bago po payagan nung TEZ na mag-operate Kasi pagka po ganitong pinipilit lang na magbukas, panandalian lang po talaga yung nangyayari at di po nakaka-benefit sa economy natin. Tungkol po sa TIESA, its main thrust include maximizing revenue generating to achieve national analyzation goals and objectives, upgrading management information systems, can improve operational competence, implementing approved reorganization plan o PTA as TIESA. Presidential Decree 564 was enacted revising the charter the Philippine Tourism Authority, which was originally created under Presidential Decree number 109 on May 11, 1973. Travel tax is a levy imposed by the government on individuals, citizens of the Philippines, permanent resident aliens who have stayed in the country for more than a year who are leaving the country irrespective of the place where the air ticket is issued as provided for PD. Presidential Decree 1183 as amended by the PD 1205, Batas Pambansa 48 and EQ 283 on travel tax of travel taxes are coursed through the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So may experience po natin to pagka po pumupunta po tayo ng ibang bansa. Meron lang po tayong limited na araw mag-stay tayo doon. Yun po yung kasama na rin po doon yung visa. Kapag po nagtagal na tayo doon, nang higit sa tinagal ng visa natin o yung sinabi nila na nagkaaroon na po nung mga tinatawag natin na TNT, mga ganyan po yung hinahabol na po sila ng batas at pwede po sila maparusahan at baka hindi na po sila ulit makabalik doon para magtrabaho. The mandate of the TIESA under Republic Act 9593 includes the following: to designate, regulate, and supervise tourism enterprise zones, to develop, manage, and supervise tourism infrastructure projects nationwide, to provide technical and financial assistance to qualified tourism projects, investors, and proponents, to generate revenues to fund both national and corporate development needs and undertakings, to exercise PTA functions under PD 564. Ito po, naulit lang po ito. Ito po yung parang criteria po talaga para nung thesis para po ma-approve yung isang place na mag-operate para po makapag-generate ng revenue para po sa ating bansa, para na rin po sa mga tao na magtatrabaho doon. Ito lang din po yun. Ito lang din po. Pinapakita lang po dito kung ano yung mga pwedeng lugar katulad po ng mga ganyan po, golf parks, resorts, theme parks, and amusement centers. Kaya po yung general leisure tourism zone areas that may offer recreational facilities that will have high visitor density. Mixed-use tourism zone areas that will allow a combination of some or all of the features of the aforementioned zones within one area. Retirement communities and facilities duly accredited by the Philippine Retirement Authority or PTA may be located in general leisure tourism zones, health and wellness tourism zones, and mixed-use tourism zones. In accordance with the Tourism Act of 2009, TIESA started to accept applications for designation of tourism enterprise zone and registration of existing accommodation establishments, which will undertake substantial expansions. The TIESA guidelines for designation and supervision of tourism enterprise zone and administration of incentives under Public Act 9593, which took effect on August 1, 2011. Ito po yung schedule fees ng TSE operator, registered tourism enterprise End po.
Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprises Zone Authority. Here are the steps on how you can download it. Step 1. Submit application form and pre-qualification documents at the Office of the Corporate Security. Step 2. Get authority to accept payment from the Office of the Corporate Security. Step 3. Pay filing fee at the Treasury Division. Step 4. Present official receipt of the Office of the Corporate Security. And step 5. Wait for the TIAS to Treasury to issue notice to proceed application. Discussion of the law. It is also good to know that the previous PTA had the following general powers. A. To implement policies and program of the DOT pertaining to the development, promotion, and supervision of tourism projects in the Philippines. B. To promote development into the integrated resort complexes of the selected and well-defined geographic areas with potential tourism value, known otherwise as tourist zone. C. To extend all the forms to assistance to private enterprises in undertaking tourism projects. D. To undertake for its own account or joint ventures with the private section the operation and the maintenance of essential tourist policies which private enterprises alone is not prepared or willing to undertake. E. To ensure availability of the land at reasonable prices or rental rates for private investors in hotels and other tourist facilities. And F. To coordinate, assist, and implemented tourism-related plans or operations of local governments, governmental agencies, public corporation, and where clearly necessary, feasible to those private entities so to make it possible and accelerated balanced growth and development of the tourism Philippines, which is responsible for the needs of the targeted travel markets here and abroad. The PTA has the power to extend all forms of the assistance to private enterprises in undertaking tourism projects. It is also has the authority to provide and coordinate, assist, and implemented tourism-related plans or operations of the local governments, government agencies, and public corporations. Philippines is responsive to the needs of the targeted travel markets here and abroad. And the next is by virtue of RA number 11262, which was signed into the on April 10, 2019, the TIAZA will have the sole and exclusive jurisdiction and grant intensive to Tourism Enterprises Zone TIAZ until December 31, 2029. Some of those incentives include the following. First, the fiscal incentives. A. Income tax holiday. B. Exempted from payment of all the national and local taxes. C. 5% of gross income. D. Exception from the customs duty. Fiscal incentives are typically provided to register business and priority industries to encourage investment and growth, while the non-fiscal incentives, A. Employment of foreign nationals for the following positions: executive, supervisor, technical advisor, consultant positions. B. Special investors, resident visa or SIRV, and working visas. C. Building land in TIAZ may be based on foreign investors for 50 years and renewable of no more than 25 years. These are also known as the Investors Lease Act of RA number 7652. Non-fiscal incentives refers to the variety of non-tax inducement which are primarily intended to make it easier to develop and implemented projects, operations, and organizational structure than the other tax relief and benefits that are directly increasing their earnings. The next one is case. Application of the law case. The heirs of Juancho Ardona are challenging the constitutionality of the Presidential Decree Number 564, the revised character of the Philippines Tourism Authority, and the proclamation of Number 2052 declaring the barangays of Sibugay, Malibog, Baghag, and Sirao, including the proposed Lusaran Dam in Cebu City, in the municipality of Argao and Dalaguete in the province of Cebu as tourist zones. The heirs of Ardona are claiming that property in question has been previously declared as the land perform area. Hence, the implementation of the social justice provision of the Constitution of Agrarian Reform in paramount to right to the state and expropriate the lands. Is the claim of the heirs of Juanco valid? The heirs of Juancho Ardona are challenging constitutionality of the President Decree Number 564, the revised of character of the Philippines Tourism Authority, and the proclamation of Number 2052, declaring the barangay of Sibugay, Malubog, Bagbag, and Sirao in the Cebu City and in the municipality of Argao and Dalaguete as tourist zone. Legal opinion. No, it has been ruled that expropriating 282 hectares of the land of establish a resort complex and declaring certain municipalities in the province in Cebu as the tourist zone is a valid exercise of eminent domain by the PTA, notwithstanding the claim that certificates of the land transfer and emancipation had already been issued. Tourism is also part of the declared national objectives of the framers of constitutional as it is covered in general terms such as justice, local autonomy, conservation and development of the national patrimony, public interest, and general welfare, among the others. So, the PTA claimed that the certificate of the land transfer and emancipation has already been issued. Tourism is also part of the declared national objectives and the framers of the Constitution as it is tourist zone is valid exercise of eminent domain by the PTA. And the next one is Intramuros administration. For 400 years, Intramuros has been a priceless heritage of the past of the city of Manila and the major historical landmark of the Philippines. In order to preserve the enhance of historical value of the Intramuros, a national historical conciseness program demands in restoration, development, and maintenance, and for this purpose, Intramuros Administration or IA shall be responsible for the orderly restoration and development of Intramuros as a monument of the Hispanic period of the Philippine history. It shall ensure that the general appearance of the Intramuros shall conform the Philippines Spanish architecture of the 16th to the 19th century. The IA has the following function: formulates, coordinates, or execute policies on the implementation of all the program, projects, and activity of the government affecting or relating to Intramuros. enter into contract with any private persons or guilty or any government agencies, either a domestic or foreign, whenever necessity for the effective discharge of its function and responsibilities under the terms and conditions it may take and deem proper and responsible, acquire through sale, expropriation, or other means, hold real and personal property as it is a necessary or convenient in the successful prosecution of its work, leases, mortgage, sells, alienates, or other disposes, such as personal and real property. And the last one is receives, takes, and hold by bequest, device, donation, gift, purchase, or lease from the foreign or domestic sources, either absolutely or trust for any of its purpose. Any assets, grant, or property, real or personal, subjects such as limitations as provided in existing laws and regulation to the convey such as asset, grant, and property, invest in the reinvestment the same, and deal with the expand its asset and income in such a manner as it will be promote as objectives. For the 400 years, Intramuros has been a priceless heritage of the past of the city of Manila. A national historical conciseness program demands its restoration, development, and maintenance. The AI administration will be responsible for the orderly restoration and development of Intramuros as a monument to the Hispanic period of the Philippines history. Intramuros administration or AI shall be responsible for the orderly restoration and development of Intramuros as a monument of Hispanic period in the Philippines. And next, initiates plans, undertakes and supervises the restoration, upkeep, and maintenance of the Intramuros walls, including the Ravelins Moat, Sunken Garden, and public places of areas, plazas, streets, and other government-owned by managed properties situated within the Intramuros, and prepares, adopt, revise, and enforce such as rules and regulation implementing guidelines and standards as necessary for the effective regulation of the land use and development activities in Intramuros of the both government and private entities, and for the implementation of Intramuros plan, including but not limited to the development rules and regulation pertaining the following: 1. Land use allocation, use of the building, their height, dimension, architectural style and design, and other specifications of the building construction to the undertaken therein. 2. Traffic management, street usage, and other related matters. 3. Size and character of display signs, advertising billboards, and other internal designs and advertisement in the building, in open spaces, lots, and roads. 4. Supervision of control of all the activities involving archaeological diggings, excavation, and exploration within the Intramuros, including the use, disposition, registration, and maintenance of archaeological findings and discoveries. Expropriates properties within Intramuros, sponsors, conduct, and otherwise assist, support festivals and cultural activities in Intramuros, and charges and collect admission fees to the restored gates of the other attraction operated by the administration. Give grants, contribution, and donation for the restoration, repair, and maintenance of historic structure in Intramuros, including San Agustin Church and a lot of structure outside of Intramuros, which are similar to the nature and characteristic as those which existed in Intramuros. For the conduct of historical architecture, archaeological, and other research, and for the other purpose, furtherance of its objective, and prescribe and collect reasonable amounts of charge as filing fees, inspection fees, permit fees, and other administrative and service fees necessary for the effective enforcement of its law, and regulatory measure to be used and disbursed by it manner determined by its promote and objective. Give grants, contribution, and donation for the preservation, upkeep, and repair of old intramuros building like San Agustin Church. Among its goals are restoration of historical, architectural, archaeological, and other studies, as well as the other purpose of its goal. The Intramuros administration has its one government agency that has been used on many occasions due to the call for development and the need to preserve a historical places, which is entire Intramuros itself. As the number of business enterprises has been attempted to provide a more modern look to Intramuros, increases business activities and which added the pollution of Intramuros and the demolish of some old structure, but Intramuros administration has been quite strict at times, especially when civil society accepts the need of pressure. Due to the growth and necessity to maintain historical area, which is the entire Intramuros itself, Intramuros administration has been one government institution that has been unused built, and the number of commercial ventures have been made an effort to give Intramuros a more modern appearance, stimulate business, and remove some outdated structures. The entity of Intramuros, which is a historical location, is as necessity, pressure comes from society. Case Mr. Robert San Jose wishes to put 85 million sport complex within the vicinity of Intramuros area. What advice will you give? Legal opinion. Mr. San Jose must first secure an approval at the Intramuros administration for the architectural design of the building of which he is about to erect before he plans to put up a building within the Intramuros area. Otherwise, Mr. San Jose cannot allow to erect a building within the Intramuros. Mr. San Jose must first secure an approval to the administration for the architectural design of the building of which he is about to erect. Otherwise, he is not allowed to build a building in the Intramuros. National Parks Development Committee or NPDC. The National Parks Development Committee has created originally as an executive committee on January 14, 1964 for the development of the Quezon Memorial, Luneta, and other national parks. It is later designated as the National Parks of Development Committee or NPDC, despite an attempt to transfer it to the Bureau of Forest Development, the Department of Natural Resources. The NPDC has remained under the Office of the President. This is all the things that NPDC remained under the Office of the President despite the attempt to transfer it to the Bureau of Department. National Historical Institute or NHI. The President Decree number 260 dated August 1, 1973 has been declared certain sites, churches, and places as national shrines, monuments, and landmarks, and places their preservation, restoration, and other reconstruction under the supervision and control of the National Historical Institute or NHI in collaborating with DOT. Hence, NHI has given the right to declare historical and cultural sites and edifices as national shrines, monuments, and landmarks. By the virtue of the President Decree Number 1, dated September 24, 1972, the NHI has been given the authority to preservation, restoration, and construction of several historical sites and buildings. In here, it's all about the declaration of NHI that have given authority for preservation, restoration of several historical buildings and places. National Commission for Cultural and Arts, or NCCA. RA number 7356 has been enacted in order to create a man-made of National Commission for Cultural Arts and function are the follows: formulate policies for the development of culture and arts, coordinates and implements the overall policies of program attached agencies on the development of cultural and arts as stated under the Executive Order Number 80. Administers the National Endowment Fund of Culture and Arts. Encourage artistic creation within the artistic freedom. Develops and promotes the Philippine national cultures and arts. Preserve Filipino cultural heritage. The primary purpose of this National Museum is to acquire documents and preserve, exhibit, and foster scholarly study and appreciation of work of art, specimen, and cultural historical artifacts. This is all the things that NCCA should follow in order to preserve the Filipino cultural heritage: obtaining papers, preserving them, displaying them, and collecting them in national museums. Main focus: encourage intellectual investigation into and all cultural historical artifacts and work as art of artifacts. Tourism Promotions Board, or TPB. The Tourist Promotion Board is an agency attached to the DOT tasked with promoting the country of an ideal tourism convention and intensive travel destination. Promote the Philippines as the travel destination and as the place to make investment in tourism in responsibility of the Philippines Tourism Promotion Board. Bangko Sentral Pilipinas, BSP. Presidential Decree Number 502 issued on July 23, 1974, empowers Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, formerly Central Bank of the Philippines, to organize a corporation which will manage and administer the Philippines International Convention Center. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas keep prices stable in order to promote balance and long-term growth to the economy and employment, and it will also encourage and uphold the peso's convertibility and monetary stability. National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA. The National Economic Development Authority is the country's independent economic development and planning agency. The NEDA was created in pursuit of goals of promoting the economic and social development and stability of country, and the NEDA may discharge of its duties and functions called upon by any private person or representative of the sector for such views or advice may be pertinent to any matter under the consideration. The National Economic Development Authority is a top socio-economic planning organization in the nation, widely regarded as the expert in policy analysis and research as well as macroeconomic forecasting. It offers senior guidance to decision makers in Congress and executive branch. Anti-Money Laundering Council. The Anti-Money Laundering Council, or AMLC, is the agency government of the Philippines that is tasked to implement the provision of RA number 9160, also known as Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001, the AMLA, as amended by RA number 10168, also known as Terrorism Financing Prevention and Suppression Act of 2012, or TFPSA. It serves as the Philippine Central Anti-Money Laundering Counter-Terrorism Financing, or MALCTE authority. Anti-Money Laundering Council is permitted to look into or evaluate any specific investment or bank deposit that are thought to be connected to illegal behavior or a money laundering charge. Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. PAGCOR is a government-owned and controlled corporation existing under Presidential Decree number 8169, issued on July 11, 1983 by President Ferdinand Marcos, pertinent provisions of said enabling law. Section 1, Declaration of Policy. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the state 10. Centralize and integrate all games of chance not herefore authorized by existing franchises or permitted by the law in order to attain the following objectives. B. To establish and operate shops and casinos for amusement and recreation, including sports gaming pools, basketball, football, lotteries, etc., such as form of amusement and creation, including games of chance, which may be allowed by the law within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines, and which will minimize, if not totally eradicate, and the evil, malpractice, and corruption that are normally prevalent, and conduct operations of the gaming clubs and casinos without direct government involvement. PAGCOR is granted in the period of 25 years, renewable for another 25 years, the right of privileges and authority to operate and maintain gambling casinos, club, and other recreation or amusement places, sports gaming pools, basketball, football, lotteries, etc., whether on the land of sea, within or territorial jurisdiction or Republic of the Philippines. The Philippine Amusement Gaming Corporation. It is required to operate and regulate games a chance of the nation, bring in the money for the government's socio-civic projects, and advance the travel and tourist sector. The 25 years of the PAGCOR is renewable for an additional 5 years. The privileges and ability to run and maintain casinos for gaming for the next 25 years, as well as the venues for entertainment, sports, and games within the Republic territorial jurisdiction are the Filipinos origin. Department of Environmental and Natural Resources, or DENR. The DENR is primarily government agencies responsible for the conservation, management, and proper use of the country's environmental and natural resources, as well as the licensing, utilization, and regulation of all the natural resources. This is done to ensure equitable sharing of the benefits for the welfare of the future generations. DENR's mission is to dynamic force behind people's initiatives in the protection, conservation, development, and management of the environment through strategic alliance and partnership relevant policies and programs, and appropriate information technology toward sustainable development. The DNR's mission is to ensure equitable sharing of the benefits of natural resources for the welfare of the future generations towards sustainable development and partnership, relevant policies and programs, and appropriate information technologies. The powers and function of DANR per section of 52 E0192 are as follows. Advise the President on the enactment of the laws relative to the development, use, regulation, and conservation of countries' natural resources and control pollution. Formulate, implements, and supervise the government policies, plans, and programs pertaining to the management, conservation, development, and use of the replenishment of the country's natural resources. Promulgates rules and regulations in accordance with the law governing the exploration, development, and conservation instruction, disposition, use and such as commercial activities tending to cause a depletion and degradation of our natural resources. Exercise supervision and control over forest lands, alienable and disposable lands, and mineral resources, and impose appropriate payments, fees, charges, rental, and any form of levy and collect such as revenues for the exploration, development, utilization, or gathering of such as resources, undertakes exploration, assessment, clarification, and inventory of the country's natural resources, using the ground surveys, remote sensing, and complementary technologies, promote proper and mutual consultation with the private sector involving natural resources, development, and use of conservation, undertakes geological surveys of the whole countries including territorial waters. The power and function of DNR Section 5 EO 192 are to follow: establishes policies and implements program for the accelerated inventory, surveys, and classifications of lands, forests, minerals, and resources to improve resources quality and quantity. B. Equitable distribution of natural resources through the judicious administration, regulation, utilization, development, and expansion of natural resources-based industries. C. Promotion, development, and expansion of natural resources-based industry. C. Preservation of cultural and natural heritage through wildlife and conservation and segregation of national parks and other protected areas. C. Maintenance of the wholesome natural and environment by encoding environmental protection laws and encouragement of the greater people's participation and privileges initiatives in the natural resources management. The power and function of DNONR 5020192 are to follows. Promulgates rules and regulations necessary to A. Accelerate cadastral and emancipation patent surveys, land uses planning and public land tilting. B. Harness forest resources to help rural development, support industries, and provide raw materials while maintaining the development stability. C. Expedite mineral resources surveys, promote production of metallic and non-metallic minerals, and encourage mineral marketing. C. Regulate the development, disposition, extraction, exploration, and use of the country's forest, land, and minerals resources. assumes responsibility to the assessment, development, protection, conservation, licensing, and regulation of natural resources, regulation and monitoring of service contractors' leases and amenities, and implementations of program measures to promote close operations. The power of and function of DENR in the section of 5 of EO 192 as follows: formulate rules, regulation, and guidelines of the insurance of the co-production, joint ventures, production sharing agreement, license, permits, concession, leases, and other privileges and arrangement related to the development and exploration of utilization of the country's natural resources, exercise exclusive jurisdiction of the management and disposition of all the lands in the public domain, and shall continue to be sole agencies responsible for the declaration, subclassification, surveying, and tilting of the land, consultation with the appropriate agencies, implementing measure of the regulatory and supervise the processing of forest products, grading and inspection of lumber and other forest products, and monitoring the movements of timber and other forest products, promulgates rules and regulations to control water, air, and land, promulgate the influence standards and regulate other pollution and radiations, promote policies, rules, and regulations to protect the country's genetic resources and biological diversity and endangered habitat, promulgate an integrated multi-sector and multidisciplinary national conservation strategy, which will be presented to the Cabinet for the President's approval, and exercise other powers and functions to achieve its mandate objectives. Department of Environmental Natural Resources, DENR. The Wildlife Resources Conservation and Production Act, July 30, 2001, states that DENR has jurisdiction over the terrestrial and animal species, all turtles and tortoise and wetland species, including crocodiles, water birds, and amphibians and dugongs. The DA has jurisdiction over aquatic critical habitats, including but not limited to hemagmatic plants, invertebrates, and all marine mammals. The management authorities for terrestrial and aquatic resources for the Protected Areas and Wildlife Bureau, or PAWB, of the DNR, and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, of the DA. According to the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Production Act of DNR is responsible for overseeing all the terrestrial and animal species, and the DABFAR, or Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, species found in wetlands such as dugong, waterbirds, and amphibians, and crocodiles.
DFA, or Department of Foreign Affairs. Ramos established 4 core areas of Philippine foreign policy: enhancing national security, promoting economic diplomacy, protecting overseas Filipino workers, and projecting a good image abroad. The Estrada administration focused on national security, economic diplomacy, assistance to nationals, and image building. It hosted the ASEAN Ministerial Meeting and conducted confidence-building measures with China over the South China Sea issue. It also strengthened bilateral ties with the neighboring countries. The DFA played a major role in the forging of a visiting forces agreement with the U.S., sent a delegation of 108 observers to the Indonesian parliamentary elections, and engaged in cooperative activities in the areas of security, defense, combating transnational crimes, culture, and the protection of OFWs and Filipinos abroad. So, we all know that TFA is the executive branch of the Philippine government charged with contributing to national security, safeguarding territorial integrity and sovereignty, taking part in efforts to sustain development and increase the country's competitive advantage, defending and promoting the rights and welfare of Filipinos abroad, and enlisting their participation as partners in national development. So next is DILG, or Department of Interior and Local Government. The Department of Interior and Local Government has the following functions. First is assist the President in the exercise of general supervision over local governments. Ito yung tumutulong sa Pangulo, sa President sa pagsasagawa ng pangkalahatang pangangasiwa sa mga lokal na pamahalaan. Next is advises the President on the development of politics, rules and regulations, and additional documents on broad oversight of local administrations in addition to public order and safety. Inire-recommend ang pagbubuo ng patakaran, tuntunin at regulasyon sa Pangulo. Bukod pa rito, may mga talaan sa malawak na kontrol ng lokal na administrasyon, pati na rin ng mga documents sa kaayusan at kaligtasan ng public. Next is establishes and prescribes rules, regulations, and other assurances to enforce laws, supervise local governments, promote local autonomy and community empowerment, and monitor compliance. Lumilikha ito at nagre-reseta ng mga batas, tuntunin, at regulasyon na nangangasiwa sa mga lokal na pamahalaan upang i-verify ang pagsunod, isulong ang lokal na autonomiya, at bigyan ng kapangyarihan ang mga komunidad. Next is, it provides assistance toward legislation regarding local governments, law enforcement, and public safety. Ito yung mga tulong sa pagpapatupad sa mga batas, na pamamahala sa mga lokal na pamahalaan, pagtutupad ng batas at kaligtasan ng publiko. And it provides plans, policies, programs, and projects to promote peace and order, ensure public safety, and strengthen local government capabilities. Nagbibigay naman to ng mga strategies para sa pagtataguyod ng batas at kaayusan, pagtiyak na kaligtasan ng publiko at pagpapahusay ng kapasidad ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. Next, it formulates plans, policies, and programs which will meet local emergencies arising from natural and man-made disaster. Lumilikha naman to ng mga estratehiya, patakaran at programa upang mahawakan ng mga lokal na emerhensya na dala ng mga sakuna, natural man o gawa ng tao. Coordination and cooperation between citizens and the department to ensure effective and efficient delivery of basic services to the public. So, kooperasyon at koordinasyon sa pagitan ng kagawaran at ng publiko upang paganahin ang epektibo at mahusay ng pagkakaloob ng mga pangunahing serbisyo sa pangkahalatang publiko. Organizes, trains, and equips primarily for performance of police functions, a police force that is national in scope and civilian in character. Nag-oorganisa naman to at isasanay at nag-aayos ng isang sibilyan ng bansang pwersa ng pulisya na pangunahing ginagamit para sa pagtupad ng mga tungkulin ng pulisya. Next is DFA, or Department of Foreign Affairs. So, the DILG consists of the department proper, the existing bureaus and offices of the Department of Local Government, the National Police Commission, the Philippine Public Safety College, and the following bureaus: the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of the Fire Protection, and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. Next is Food and Drugs. The BFAD is an attached agency under the Department of Health responsible for the registration of processed foods, drugs, medical devices, in vitro diagnostic reagents, cosmetics, and household hazardous substance products. Consumers should bring verification, product samples, and doctor's prescription drug products to the BCFAD policy, Planning and Advocacy Division, Public Assistance and Compliance Division. Establishments involved in the manufacture, packaging, repacking, and retailing of processed foods, drugs, medical devices, in vitro diagnostic reagents, cosmetics, and household hazardous substance products must be secure a license from BFAD. Consumers are advised to verify the license to operate of the establishment or outlet and the applicable BFAD product registration number on the label of the products intended to be bought. Furthermore, consumers must ask for receipts of payment of purchased products reflecting the business name and address, tax identification number or TIN, and name of printer with exclusive serial number of booklets and date of issuance of receipts and the description of goods oversees the registration of manufactured foods, medications, medical equipment, in vitro diagnostic reagents, cosmetics, and products containing household hazardous substances. So we have the main functions of the Bureau of Immigration. First, acts as the primary enforcement arm of the Department of Justice and the President of the Philippines in ensuring that all foreigners within its territorial jurisdiction comply with existing laws. So, tinitiyak nito na ang lahat ng layuhan sa loob ng kanyang geographical na authority ay sumusunod sa mga umiiral na batas sa pamamagitan ng pagsisilbi bilang pangunahing tagapagpatupad ng kagawaran, ng hustisya at ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Next, it assists local and international law enforcement agencies in securing the tranquility of the state against foreigners whose presence or stay may be deemed threats to national security, public safety, public morals, and public health. So, tumutulong naman to sa mga lokal na international na organisasyong nagpapatupad ng batas na protektahan ang kapayapaan ng bansa mula sa mga tagalabas na ang presensya ay maaaring makita bilang isang banta sa kaligtasan ng public moralidad o kalusugan. It acts as chief repository of all immigration records pertaining to entry, temporary sojourn, admission, residence, and departure of all foreigners in the country. So, nagsisilbi naman itong pangunahing repository para sa lahat ng mga records ng immigration na may kaugnayan sa pagdating pansamantalang pananatili, pagpasok, pananatili, at pag-alis ng lahat ng dayuhang namamayan sa bansa. The BIR shall be under the supervision and control of the Department of Finance, and its powers and duties shall comprehend the assessment and collection of all national internal revenue taxes, fees, and charges, and the enforcement of all forfeitures, penalties, and fines connected therewith, including the execution of judgments in all cases decided in its favor by the Court of Tax Appeals, and ordinary courts. So, Bureau of Customs, or BOC, under Republic Act Number 1937, June 23, 1957, titled Revising the Tariff and Customs Laws, the general duties as amended by Republic Act Number 9135, dated April 27, 2001. The powers and jurisdiction of the Bureau shall include. So, it implements an effective revenue collection by preventing and suppressing smuggling and the entry of prohibited imported goods. So, the powers and jurisdiction of the Bureau shall include: first, assess and collect lawful revenues; second, prevent smuggling and other frauds; next is control vessels or aircrafts doing foreign trade; enforce tariff and customs laws; control the handling of foreign mails, revenues, and prevention purposes; jurisdiction over forfeitures and seizures cases. The revised Charter of the Philippine Ports Authority, which took effect on December 23, 1975, transferred the powers, duties, and jurisdiction of the POC with regard to arrest and steering operations of the PPA. When a vessel is subject to seizure by virtue of an act done in Philippine waters in violation of the tariff and customs laws, a pursuit of the vessel begins within the jurisdictional waters and may continue beyond the maritime zone. Imported articles which may be subject to seizure may be pursued in their transportation in the Philippines by land, water, or air, with jurisdiction exerted over it in any place necessary for the due enforcement of the law. So the VOC shall, for customs purposes, have exclusive control, direction, and management of custom houses, warehouse, offices, wharves, and other premises in the respective ports of entry, in all cases without prejudice to the general police powers of the city or municipality wherein such premises are situated. The President of the Philippines can declare any public wharf, landing place, street, or land to be under the jurisdiction of the VOC and the authority of the Bureau. In respect thereto shall be fully effective. However, in the case of non-executive secretary, South Wing Heavy Industries, numbers GR numbers 164171, 164172, and 1687841, the Supreme Court declared as constitutionally invalid President Arroyo's Executive Order 156, which prohibited the importation of used motor vehicles as the Subic Bay Freeport. So next is the Philippine Coast Guard. By virtue of Republic Act Number 5173, the Philippine Coast Guard has been created as such agency of the Department of Transportation and Communication with the following objectives. So first is to enforce or assist in the enforcement of all applicable laws upon the high seas and water subject to the jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines. So, para ipatupad ang lahat ng mga may katuturang batas sa mataas na dagat at sa tubig sa ilalim ng otoridad ng Pilipinas o para tumulong sa pagpapatupad nito. To enforce law, promulgate, and administer regulations for the promotion of safety of life and property within the maritime jurisdiction of the Philippines. So, para maitaguyod ang batas at maglabas ng mga regulasyon at isakatuparan ng mga ito sa ilalim ng otoridad ng dagat ng Pilipinas para itaguyod ang kaligtasan ng mga tao at ari-arian. So, to develop, establish, maintain, and operate with due regard to the requirements of national defense, aids to maritime navigation and rescue facilities for the promotion of safety on and over the high seas and water subject to the jurisdiction of the Philippines. So, para lumikha, magtatag, magpanatili, at magpatakbo ng Marine Navigational Aid at Rescue Facility para sa layunin ng pagtataguyod ng kaligtasan sa ibabaw ng matataas na dagat at tubig sa ilalim ng otoridad ng Pilipinas habang isinasaalang-alang ang mga pangangailangan ng depensa ng bansa. So, Professional Regulatory Board for Customs Brokers. Pursuant to the national policy, the government shall provide a program to set up a climate conducive to the practice of the profession and maximize the capability and potential of our Filipino customs brokers. Hence, Republic Act Number 9280, March 13, 2004, was enacted regulating the practice of customs brokers profession in the Philippines and creating the Professional Regulatory Board for Customs Brokers. So, the standardization and regulation of customs administration education, the examination and registration of customs brokers, and the supervision, control, and regulation of the practice and the customs broker profession. So, custom brokers represent importers and exporters before any government agency and private entities in cases related to the valuation and classification of imported articles, as well as providing other professional services in matters. So, customs brokers provide consultation, preparation of customs required documents for imports and exports declaration of customs duties and taxes, preparation, signing, filing, lodging, and processing of import and export entries. So, NPF, or Nayong Pilipino Foundation. The NPF was created on November 16, 1972 with the intention of promoting, encouraging, and initiating research and development projects and activities in social sciences, humanities, social and amelioration, and allied fields. The foundation is non-stock, non-profit corporation, organized, established, and operated in the public interest, and no portion of its funds and income shall inure of the benefit of any of its members. The policy-making body of the Nayong Pilipino to the Board of Trustees composed of a chairman and site members to be appointed by the President for a term of 1 year. The chairman and members shall be persons genuinely interested in the promotion of the purposes and objectives of the foundation. So next is Philippine Sport Commission. The primary mandate of the Philippine Sports Commission is to serve as the prime catalyst and advocate for the propagation and development of Philippine sports by helping shape policies and setting priorities through the following. First is coordinating and implementing a national sports program, creating equitable opportunities for participation in sports by all sectors. Next, providing assistance to stakeholders and partners, supporting the specially talented athletes for high-level competitions, and promoting the development of physical qualities and moral values, which is the basis of sports. So next is PNP, or Philippine National Police. So the Philippine National Police is the Republic of the Philippines National Police Force, insofar as it administers all law enforcement functions across the Philippines. It serves as both a national and a local police force. So the PNP is the armed civilian national police force in the Philippines, headquartered at Camp Crane in Quezon City. It is administered and controlled by the National Police Commission and is part of the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG. Local police officers are operationally controlled by municipal mayors. DILG, on the other hand, organizes, trains, and equips the PNP for the performance of police functions as a police force that is national in scope and civilian in character. The PNP was formed on January 29, 1991, when the Philippine Constabulary and Integrated National Police were merged pursuant to Republic Act 675 of 1990.21. So last is we have Anti-Graft and Corruption Law in Government. Republic Act Number 10910, or an act increasing the prescriptive period for violations of Republic Act Number 3019, otherwise known as the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, from 15 years to 20 years, amending Section 11 thereof, amended the prescription of offenses, also known as the Statute of Limitations, from 15 to 20 years. This means it is still possible to carry out judgment on individuals guilty of graft and corruption within 20 years. So, according to the guiding premise that a public office is a public trust, the Philippine government has made it a priority to suppress actions taken by both public officials and ordinary citizens that constitute graft or corrupt practices or have the potential to do so. So, that would be all po.